Hey, I'm Doc, and in this video, MaxSpeeding.com has been generous enough to sponsor this coilover install on the S197, Peg's Pony. Hey, I'm Doc, and this is Doc's Boost, and here at Doc's Boost, we're going to teach you how to build performance, how to enjoy that performance, and be excited while doing it. In this video, we're going to talk about coilover kits, and I'm going to tell you the truth about coilover kits, at least the inexpensive coilover kits that come pretty complete. Are they worth the money or not? Will they do the job you want it to do? And how adjustable are they really? Well, we're going to put a set of those on the 07 Mustang today, and we're going to find out the answers to those questions in a short period of time. So I got the car up on some cribbing, ready to get the job started. We're going to start by going to the front end first and installing one of the new struts and see how that really fits, I guess, fits this application for the 07 GT. So let's get the party started. Now the next thing that we'll be doing is we'll be taking these bolts off, this bolt and this bolt. We're going to take off the connection for the ABS and the brake line, and we're going to disconnect the sway bar link. Then going to go up above to remove these 4 bolts to release the strut, and then the strut will come out. 18 millimeter here. There we go. We're going to get this guy, which is also an 18. All right, we got all that loose. Got that one off. Got that one off. There we go. We got that out. There's the brake line. Yeah. We need to get the traction control fastener. All right, we got that taken care of. The brake line out of the way, and all we need to do is get the link out of our hair. And there we go. We'll go ahead and take these 4 bolts out. Alright, there we go. So now we got the old strut here. We've got the new strut here, obviously, right? Wow, what a master of the obvious there. One thing that concerns me right off the bat is that this bracket is way higher than this bracket. But looking at the sway bar links that come with the kit are a lot shorter than the stock ones, so that's going to make up for the difference. So you can see that, hopefully. And alright, so that's one concern of mine taken care of. Let's take a look. We've got mounting brackets for the traction control. We've got the mounting hole for the brake line in the same space. So far so good. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Now height wise, we've got quite a bit of difference here. So we're going to decide on how low we want to go. What we got from top to bottom here is about 25 inches. We got 22 inches. So if we can get to 23 or 23 and a half, I think that would be great. We'll just screw this out until we get there. That's right at 23 and a quarter, almost right on the nut. So we're going to use that. We're going to lock that in. And this notch right there, we're going to say has to point towards the outside of the car, like this. I'm going to lock it down in that spot right there. So this strut is ready to go back on the car. First thing we got to do, slide it up from the bottom, connect it at the top. Just got to find the holes. And there they are. Now we'll take a 13 millimeter wrench and snug them right now. Okay, there we go. Let's put all these bolts back in place and then tighten them up. going to push the traction control cable connector in that slot. Turn the wheels to get this bolt in there. Oh, that's not a threaded hole. I got to find a nut for that bolt. All right, there's strike one. It's not a threaded hole. I was able to find a 7/16 bolt 16th nut and got it driven home. We're tight. We're going to go to the other side now and install the other strut. So now that we've got both struts installed, we can go ahead and connect the sway bar links. I've got the sway bar link in place on the other side, but not tight. I'm going to put the sway bar link in place here. We're going to tighten up both sides. And 19. I've got a ratcheting wrench for that job. There we go. Now all I got to do is tighten that up on the other side. And then, well, let's make sure that this one's tight too. Just because we use that impact doesn't mean I trust the impact, right? I am now all of a sudden confused. There we go. Alright. Right now we should tighten the jam nuts before we forget. So let me do that. It is 9/16. That's 5/8. Alright, so let's hold the center and tighten. There we go. Alright, so we're going to go do the same thing on the other side. After tightening the other side, then the tires are ready to go back on. We're going to put it on the blocks and we're going to see how much lower the car sits. And that's going to be exciting. I'm really excited to see how this is all going to turn out. I really am. I have no idea. But so far, the only thing that I didn't like about the whole installation is that I didn't have a threaded hole for the brake line to be secured to the strut. Other than that, fitment was perfect, other than that one minor detail. This is the driver's side, and this is the passenger side. So I lowered both sides just about the same, and it really looks a lot more aggressive in the front. Alright, so now we're going to tackle the rear end of the car. So when we disconnect the shocks from inside the trunk, we're going to have to drop the sway bar from the frame, so when we lower the axle, it'll actually move down and out of the way so we can get the shocks off and get the springs out. We're going to be riding a lot lower, so we're going to probably cut the top knob off of that bumper right there. So the only thing left to do is get the party started back here at the rear of the car. See what sizes we need here. Shocks on the lower side is going to be 15. We're going to need 15 on the sway bar links. Heck, that's all there is down here. Oh, we need to take the cover off of the panhard bar. I'm going to tell you right now, the thing that concerns me most about this whole kit is that it didn't come with an adjustable panhard bar. What's going to happen when I lower it is that it's going to push the axle this way towards the driver's side of the car. I'm going to have to purchase an adjustable panhard bar so I can bring the axle back into position once I lower the car. That's a little bit bigger than a 15. That's going to be an 18. Let's loosen them up. All right, here we go. And got that loose. Now all we got to do is drive them out of there. All right. That's going to be a pain in the ass. Oh yeah, easy peasy, right? Alright, got that out. And the bar is disconnected from the axle. Alright, that's all we want. Now from here, we got to put a jack under here and support the axle while we go in the trunk and take the top bolts off of the shocks, and then after that, everything just falls out of there pretty much. So let's get in the trunk and do that. Now that we have it disconnected at the top, shocks come out pretty darn easy. And now it's a matter of lowering the axle so we can get the springs out of there. Okay, we're getting there. There's one. Got one really important factor right here. I gotta take this bracket off because I'm really putting a lot of tension on the hose right here. And it's not broken yet, and I got pretty lucky, so I gotta take that off now on both sides before something really bad happens. And that's a 10 millimeter. Oh, I got enough play. I can just wiggle that out of there now. This coilover kit from MaxSpeedingRods.com is designed to drop the car 2+ inches. We're going to take the spring adjusters and install them just like we got them out of the kit, and we're going to check the ride height and adjust as necessary once we set the car down and take a look at it. Once we get a good idea of the ride height, we're going to show you how to assemble everything, and then a little later in the video, we're going to talk about all of the adjustments to make sure they're perfect. All right, it looks like we can use the stock pads because these aren't going to fit over that part. See, these don't fit over that. So we're not going to use the ones that came. We're going to use the ones that were already there. They're still in good shape, and we're going to use those. And then the next thing we're going to do is set the springs in place. And we're going to raise that up a bit. And looks like we're headed in the right spot. Let me go check the other side. There's some rubber pads up there that have like a little nose, a cone shape that goes inside, and I am right on target. And after another couple pumps, we'll go ahead and put the shocks in place. So you gotta push this grommet on there.
Okay.
Push up.
I am. I'm compressing the shock.
I gotta bring the axle up so I can attach the bottom. And we got a long way to go. And then adjusting the desired ride height is also going to be tricky. Okay, They don't fit. Wow. All right. Okay. Let's get this up out of the way too. While we're here. There we go. Alright, that wasn't so bad. Just had to lower it a little bit. Before you say you're finished, get them bolts back in. I cut the top off of the bumper because we're going to be riding a lot lower. Now, whether or not that's going to be enough, I don't know. And if we've got to shave it down a little more, we can always do that later. So let me get all of these bolts tight down here, and then we'll come back and start talking ride height and see how we got to adjust the ride height and get the spring tension correct and all of those other things. Now we have the install completely done, and this chapter is all about all of the adjustments. Now, MaxSpeedingRods.com told me that this kit is fully adjustable with all of the components already installed. So I'm going to put it to the test. We're going to find out if that's true or not. So we're going to be adjusting the sway bar links up front. We're going to be adjusting the spring load on the struts, and we're going to be adjusting the ride height up front. When we go to the back, we're going to be adjusting the spring load, we're going to be adjusting the ride height, and we're going to be adjusting the shock absorber length. So let's get started. Alright, the first thing that we're going to adjust is the sway bar links. Now, we're not going to get a whole lot into the sway bar technology about longer, tighter, shorter, that sort of thing. All we're going to do is, how do you adjust it normally for the normal ride? And what you got to do is make sure that your jam nuts are fully loose and out of the way. You're going to rotate this rod all the way to the one direction till it gets tight, then all the way to the other direction till it gets tight, and then find that happy medium in the middle, which is that right there. This doesn't have too much play either way. We're going to run those nuts right back up and jam them in place, and that's all there is to it as far as getting the sway bar links adjusted properly. And that's the first thing we can do for sure while the parts are installed on the car. Alright, next we're going to do the spring preload. Oh, and we got to make sure you have the car suspended for this one. We're going to have to loosen these two to be able to spin that down. There we go. We're going to screw that down till we get some play in the spring. Right now you can see that the spring moves around. And you can go up and down with it a little bit. You want to bring that adjustment collar all the way up until it's snug and you can't hardly move it by hand anymore and the spring is tight. Bring that collar all the way up, and now we're going to raise that up using the spanner wrench until we can get a gap that's equal to that thickness, and so far we haven't got there yet. There we go, we're in. Now we're going to jam it. And that's the preload. So the preload is set. Now the last thing we're going to do up front is ride height. First we got to loosen this thing. Okay. From this edge to this edge is 1 inch. I started it out. I raised this up 1 inch, and I've gotten that far down. So I'm going to lower it until this hits that. So I'm turning this flange up here with the tool. Now the cylinder is going to move, and you're going to be screwing it in until that collar touches the attaching fixture. I made it. So we're going to lock that down. There we go. I just lowered the car 1 more inch. And those are the 3 adjustments for the front. We're now going to make adjustments for the rear suspension. We're going to adjust the ride height, spring preload, and the shock absorber length. You got both shocks are disconnected at the bottom. The car is resting on the springs only, so these pedestals will be set exactly alike if the ride height on both sides is the same. Now we're going to determine if we got it where we want it. And the ride height in the back is 36 3/4. On that side, we got 36, closer to 36.5 on this side. So let's go for 36.5 on both sides. We'll have to adjust the height on that side only. We're going to drop it down 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so that's loose. So we're going to move this down and a 1/4 inch and I just measured it, and these two spanners is a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to knock that down 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to bring this down to meet it. Alright, so now we're going to go out there and check the height on both sides. Now the ride height measures 36.5 on both sides of the car. Now we can move to the spring preload adjustment. Make sure that the car is in full rebound position, meaning that the spring is just touching the frame and the axle without any movement. We can now set the spring preload the same as we did in the front. So we're going to move this top flange up to set the preload on the spring. Now we're going to attempt to lock that sucker, even though it's a tight space. We're going to do our best. That's tight. Now that's the preload is set. The ride height is set. Now we are also at the full rebound position pretty much for the rear end. And at that, this is where the shock length now has to be adjusted. So what we need to do is screw it down until the bolt holes match. And then we got the proper length for the shock.
Should we lower the car off the jack?
No, it has to stay in high rebound.
Just checking.
That looks like it. And we're done with all of the adjustments. And it looks like we can actually do all of the adjustments while they're on the car. So he got the car back on the ground. The stance is way more aggressive than it's ever been before. It's equal all the way around, and we've made all of the adjustments while the equipment is on the car. Who's got 2 thumbs and approves of these MaxSpeedingRods.com coilovers? Doc Spruce does. Now, let's keep the fun going by watching this video right here. It's a great burnout video. You're really going to have fun. I'll see you right there in a moment. And thanks for watching.